Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, can I switch seats to sit with my wife? Terrible neighbor vandalizes cars parked in front of her house. A cop asked for a Togo drink at the bar. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Can I switch seats to sit with my wife? So this happened a few months ago, but I just found this subreddit today and it applies so well. I get kinda anxious when I fly, and for that reason like to have an aisle seat, and will always get one on my own through the seat map when I book. I always fly basically cross-country for reference, minimum 4-hour flights. Anyways, I'm in my aisle seat and the middle seat is still open with a few passengers still boarding the plane. I see a typical airport creature looking dude who's like 65 and some woman also around his age walking together, and he motions that he's in the middle seat. I get up and before I can sit down he goes, "Do you think you'd be willing to trade seats with my wife so she could sit next to me?" Now I've grown up traveling with my family and my dad travels for work, so he always stressed the unspoken rules of airline travel and importance of following them. Always have your shoes and belt off at TSA, that sort of thing. So the whole "can I pretty please switch seats because I'm a moron or cheap and didn't want to book them together" pisses me off, and as I mentioned I already don't like travel. So I shut him down immediately when the words come out of his mouth. I'm just like, I'm sitting in the seat I was assigned. He looks all sad and spends the first 20 minutes of the plane ride talking to his wife behind me while I have headphones in. Mind you, I never caught what seat his wife was in, but I assumed she had the aisle behind me because why the hell else would he ask? After a while, I have an epiphany where I'm like, you know what, I'll be the extra nice guy today and take my headphones out and get the guy's attention. I ask him, "Is your wife also in the aisle seat?" And he starts aggressively smiling like a kid who got his hand caught in the cookie jar and goes, "No, she's in the middle seat." I shook my head in disgust and ignored him the rest of the flight. Another unwritten rule of air travel is, if you're going to ask to someone to switch seats, you need to offer them a seat that is as good as what they have, or something better. If the person has paid to choose their seat, be prepared to offer them what they paid if you expect them to switch. I, too, like the aisle seat, and especially if I've had to pay for it, I am not going to give it up unless I'm getting a better offer or getting paid. I paid for my window seat once, and swapped with a kid so they could sit together with their mom, for the window seat right behind me. Same. Then a family across the aisle asked if I would swap with their daughter in the back middle of the plane. Nope. Same or better, nothing else. Once I paid extra for an upgraded aisle seat on a very long flight. I have an old back injury and needed the extra room. When I got to my seat, a woman with a baby was sitting in my seat. Her husband told me that she needed my seat and she was entitled to it because of the baby. I told him that I didn't pay for a seat in order to subsidize his family's travel and I would be sitting in the seat I paid for. And as he knew they needed the seat, he should have paid for it in advance. The problem with taking your chances is that sometimes things don't work in your favor. Years ago, I was a reservations agent for an international airline. A passenger called and said she needed to be upgraded from her cheapest ticket to business class because she had a broken toe. I told her that she needed to pay for it. She didn't agree. She wanted a guaranteed free upgrade. Unfortunately, she remembered my name and kept calling me and harassing me for the free upgrade. She said she couldn't travel any other way. I finally had to tell her that if she wasn't physically able to fly in the seat she had paid for, as she claimed, I would have to flag her reservation pending medical clearance by the company physician. If he were to find she was unable to fly in the seat she had purchased, she would have no choice but to pay for an upgrade or be denied boarding. That shut her mouth. They must have had a treat with her in London. I many years ago used to fly with young son from ages 2 to 9 to visit family OS. He was always a brilliant flyer BTW, he loved it. My travel agent cousin always booked the spot where there were 2 seats to themselves. That way he could lean on me, spread out a bit, have toys, and bother no one. The amount of times couples would try to make me change because they wanted to snuggle, or he shouldn't have a window blah blah. So yeah, entitled people were doing this 30 years ago. I once gave up a window seat for a middle so a dad could sit with his kid. Then he had his kid recline into me. Still grates me to this day. I am never, ever giving up my aisle seat. Airplane seating is such a lottery, who you get sat next to. I hate flying, so I pick my seat carefully ahead of time. Always an aisle up the back because seats generally fill from the front dash back, so the odds of an empty seat are much higher in the middle up the back. Terrible neighbor vandalizes cars parked in front of her house. A neighbor thinks she is the only person entitled to park in front of her house. There's room for 2 cars, but she'll park square in the middle so there's not room for another car. If someone has to park in front of her house, if the spot is left unoccupied, she becomes unhinged. She's yelled at a neighbor accusing them of taking her spot. One neighbor had someone over to their house and parked in front of the lady's house overnight, leaving enough room for her to park there as well. The next day her car was doused in orange juice. My wife has tried to reason with her, but she's proven herself unreasonable. Wife and I have fantasized about what we can do to send her a message. Open to suggestions. Install cameras and get video of her vandalizing cars. Then take it to the police. You're the only person who has suggested this. Get a hard candy Jolly Rancher, moisten it, and accidentally drop it on her windshield. If she tries to pull it off, it'll crack the glass. Bird seed tossed on her car. Buy a cheap garden gnome. Tell her it has a camera in it. Later on, make it hold up the sign, "I saw what you did to that car." Repeat endlessly and change the wording as appropriate. If you have a door cam or any type of cam, I would film her behavior and then have a quiet word with her that she is acting in a criminal way and needs to stop. If she persisted in vandalism, then I would report her to the police. Better to do it quietly before someone catches her and something worse may happen. A cop asked for a Togo drink at the bar. To start, I have nothing against cops. I think they put their lives on the line for us, and I respect them, most of them. We had a customer named Rick, and he was a city cop. He was an okay guy, I guess kind of arrogant and entitled, because he thought he was so great because he was a cop. One busy night, when the bar was crazy, he beckoned me from around the corner. I went over. He had a drink in his hand, and he thrust it towards me. "Can you put this in a Togo cup for me?" I just looked at him, not believing what I had just heard. I had never had someone ask me for their drink to go, let alone a police officer. I asked him if he was serious, and he said yes. I told him that he of all people in this bar had no right to ask me that, and that he should be ashamed of himself. He did not say anything and then just walked away. Later on that night, he settled his tab and left his usual %10 tip. His friend, Danny, not a cop, was a real stand-up guy and a great tipper. He saw the tip Rick had left us and admonished him, saying that we girls worked hard and deserved a lot more than that. I was loving it, because the guy got what we deserved, and we got a %20 tip. Guess he got his. Thanks, Danny. This happened over 15 years ago. At the time, to have an open container of alcohol in the car was illegal. I do not know if the laws have changed since then. I live in CT. Cops put their lives on the line for us? You mean like the fine, brave men who victoriously saved the children in the Uvalde school shooting? Probably 10 to 15% of my alcohol sales are to go. It was a perk of COVID. When a cop's reputation is that bad in Plain Company, it usually means they're god-awful people. I live in a very rural area, and if you hear a whiff of a rumor about a bad cop, you avoid them like the plague. Unless you have money. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.